A lot of veterinarians are under the assumption that kibble is safer than a raw food diet. You may have even been told that there's no way that you can balance a raw food diet. And then there's the whole issue with all the bacteria, E. coli, salmonella, listeria. But is this really a problem for your dog? In this short video, I'm going to cover what you need to know about feeding your dog a raw food diet and if it's something that you should start thinking about. Hey, pet parents, I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, founder of The Natural Pet Doctor. I'm a holistic veterinarian who's on a mission to help pets thrive naturally by empowering pet parents like you. Let's start with the ancestral background of dogs. Most scientists believe that dogs were domesticated from gray wolves about 15,000 years ago. But DNA analysis from 1997 actually suggests that dogs separated from gray wolves about 130,000 years ago. Dogs' teeth are adapted to a carnivorous diet. They're made for tearing muscle, crunching bones, and sharing skin and fur. They do not have a wide range of motion in their jaws that are needed for omnivores to chew grass. And yes, they've actually adapted to digest small amounts of carbohydrates through domestication with salivary digestive enzymes, but they don't do best with a high carbohydrate diet. Commercially processed diets have only been around for just over 100 years. Big companies saw a way to make a convenient pet food after the Great Depression while using up the byproducts from the human food industry. Dead livestock, unusable meat, and meats that weren't suitable for the human industry had to go somewhere, unfortunately. Companies started marketing their foods as complete foods and started the idea that feeding table scraps could actually be dangerous for your pets. Then came prescription foods with the underlying marketing that pet food is too complicated and should be left to the professionals who are truly the only ones that know what your pet should be eating. However, in the 1970s, hundreds of cats developed heart issues after pet food manufacturers didn't realize that taurine was an essential amino acid and needed to be added to the processed diets. In 2007, there was the pet melamine disaster, where melamine was used as an artificial protein in the vitamin premixes that came from China and killed thousands of pets. In 2012, the American Veterinary Medical Association made a statement that raw foods were not healthy for our pets. But was this a validated statement? The raw food industry is a highly controversial area, but why? Many parents have caught on that processed pet food may not actually be the best option for their dog, and for good reason. Given the number of recalls that have happened from the melamine incident to vitamin D toxicosis, pet parents want better for their pets and are turning to homemade diets and raw foods. By making your pet's diet with real whole food ingredients, you can control where the ingredients are coming from and provide a diet full of phytonutrients and other essential vitamins and minerals. On the other hand, dry kibble diets are cooked in a liquid form, pushed through a mechanical extruder, and baked at really high temperatures, which forms toxic chemicals like heterocyclic amines and advanced glycation end products. These are biomarkers that are implicated in aging changes and the development of many degenerative diseases. After the high heat cooking process, those nutrients are added back into the food because they're actually baked out. Fats and flavorings are then sprayed on the end product, that end kibble, so your pet will actually eat them. Other benefits of feeding a raw food diet are that it's more bioactive and contains many more antioxidants. They also do not possess those cooking toxins found in a dry kibble diet. And they improve the GI health, which improves the immune health of your dog, since 70 to 80% of the immune system is found in the wall of the GI lining. In general, raw-fed dogs tend to not be overweight and overall tend to be very healthy with this higher protein and lower carbohydrate diet. If you're thinking of using a raw food diet for your dog, one thing to keep in mind is that a raw food diet should just not be just meat, bone, and organs. Adding in high quality vegetables and small amounts of fruits like blueberries adds in antioxidants which support optimal health. Also, studies at Texas A&M University showed that large breed dogs need more fiber by adding in vegetables for optimal colonic health, so supporting their colon health. Otherwise, these dogs are actually more prone to GI upset and loose stool or diarrhea. But what about bacterial infections? Won't your dog get sick from eating a raw food diet? Dogs are actually well adapted to handling bacteria like E. coli, salmonella, or listeria. The dog's intestinal tract is 5% as long as that of a human, meaning the potential for these pathogens are only in the body for a short period of time. If the meat is rancid, then yes, of course they can get food poisoning from that. However, the biggest concern is the humans because we are really susceptible to these pathogens. Ironically, more people have gotten sick from handling processed dry food than pet parents who are feeding a raw diet to their pets. There have been more recalls of processed dry food for these pathogens than recalls of raw diets. So why aren't more vets recommending these diets? The reason why is that we're not taught about these diets in vet school. Also, the scientific research behind raw diets is lacking. So veterinarians are saying to not do it because it's too risky. But there's numerous cases all over the world that show that these diets are highly beneficial to the health of your pets. Many pets will have chronic health issues like chronic ear infections, skin infections, seizures, and even urinary incontinence that will disappear when they're transitioned to a whole food diet. Even pets who seem sensitive to chicken, beef, or fish in the kibble diet can start eating these proteins again, real food versus processed food. Even the body is showing us that it processes these proteins differently. There's also less likely to be cross-contamination with the proteins in a raw-fed diet compared with a processed diet that is made in a large factory with numerous other preservatives and proteins that pass through on the manufacturing line. This sounds fantastic and that every dog should be on a raw diet, but there are some contraindications you need to be aware of for feeding a raw diet to your dog. So what dogs may not do well with a raw diet? If you have a dog that's on immunosuppressive drugs, has liver disease or severe endocrine disease, you do need to be very careful because the bacterial load is higher than in a kibble or a canned food diet. This doesn't mean that you have to feed a kibble diet though. A whole food cooked diet may actually be the best option for these pets. Also, if you have an immunosuppressed person in the household or small children that will put their hands in the pet food bowl, this also may not be the best diet to feed to your dog. There are different types of raw food diets, though, that are manufactured differently that will contain different amounts of microorganisms. There are frozen, freeze-dried, dehydrated, and high-pressure pasteurization, or HPP diets. And those HPP diets will actually be the safest with the lowest amount of microorganisms present. It will also, though, be the most expensive type of raw food. Feeding raw is perfectly safe with using proper handling and common sense, just like you would do if you were cooking a meal with raw meat for yourself. Make sure you wash your hands after feeding your pet. Don't leave the food out at room temperature all day. Wash the dishes and utensils after your dog eats, and don't leave raw food in the fridge for more than 72 hours. And last but not least, if you're thinking of changing from a kibble diet to a raw diet, here's a word of caution. Your dog processes raw food very differently than a kibble diet. The raw food needs to sit in an acid bath in the stomach for longer periods of time to break down the higher protein content. Many dogs may develop loose stool or diarrhea when they are transitioned to a raw food diet for the first time. This is due to two reasons. your speed of transition, and gut dysbiosis. I recommend a slow transition to the new raw diet, starting with the raw diet fed as a treat for a few days. Then after a few days, replace one meal with the raw diet. Continue this exercise until the diet is 100% raw. If your pet has severe dysbiosis, you actually may need to transition over months to sometimes a year. And I highly recommend working with a holistic veterinarian to manage the transition and ensure the dysbiosis is being treated with appropriate supplements to heal leaky gut. A raw food diet doesn't have to be scary or hard. There are a lot of great companies out there that have high quality, human grade, pre-made diets that you can start with, or you can even make your own homemade raw diets for your dog. Remember to start slow and work with a holistic veterinarian if you're feeling uncomfortable about balancing it and ensuring the ratios are correct and enough essential vitamins and trace minerals are present. As always, you have the power to help your pet thrive and live a long and vibrant life. Together, we can make the change that's needed to help your fur family thrive naturally. Until next time, I'm Dr. Katie. Take care, pet parents.